formerly known as Hulk Hogan, sued the gossip site Gawker for posting his sex tape online. It put internet privacy in a battle against freedom of the press. Well, Terry just came out on top in a big way, and he joins us for his first live interview since his $140 million courtroom victory. So everyone, please welcome Terry Bollea and his attorney, David Houston. Terry, David, thanks for joining the Hot Topics table today, guys. I just want to set the story up for those at home. What just happened? The courts just gave you $140 million in damages from Gawker Media because they say they violated your privacy by publishing a sex tape with Heather Clem, who is the former wife of your former best friend, radio personality Bubba the Love Sponge Clem. Okay, so when that decision was announced in court, you absolutely melted. You burst into tears. I can see you're emotional right now. But why was that moment so emotional for you?
Well, it's been so long. It's been almost 3.5 years since the rumors started. And it's just crazy dark cloud that I was just living with. And, it hasn't stopped. But one of the problems I had was so many people in the media and so many people on the street were going, oh, well, maybe he's in on it. Maybe he's doing something to make money. Maybe it's a wrestling angle. And the whole time I said, guys, that's not me. I didn't do this for profit. It was a horrible decision, low point in my life. But at the end of the day, they had a verdict sheet, and I knew what the boxes were that were checked. And once they checked the first one, that was okay. But the second box meant that we won it, and people actually believed me. And I had my head like this, and when the second box was checked and I heard the judge read it, that people actually believed me after all this time. The public believes me.
And that made you emotional.
I snorted and I went, and all this water just poured out of my face and I couldn't stop. So as they kept checking boxes, we left one upstairs with the team. I didn't even hear the number. David had to tell me upstairs what they awarded me. I was like,
all you wanted was to be believed. That's all you wanted.
Yeah, I wasn't in it for any other reason, but so it wouldn't happen to anybody else, because their whole theory is if you're on social media now, you're a public persona. So if you're getting dressed today and there's a picture of you right now on the internet, that's okay with Gawker. And that's not right, especially when they said anybody over 4 years old.
It's not just Gawker, there are others. But let me clear up a few things regarding the case so that people know what we're doing here. These are questions you answer whatever you want to say. Did you have a sexual encounter with your former best friend's wife on more than one occasion?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Were you aware that the sexual encounter was being recorded?
No.
You were not. Who recorded the sexual encounter? Because Bubba claims, Bubba Clem, rather, is that his name? Bubba Clem. He said that this tape would be the retirement for him and his wife, Heather.
Well, now that I've seen his deposition, read his deposition, he told the truth, that I did not know that he set the camera, but he is the one that recorded it.
So he recorded it, okay. Who released the video to Gawker, and at any point did you ask that it be taken down?
The release of the video is kind of a long, complicated story. We know it went from a DJ in Tampa to a fellow by the name of Tony Burton here in New York, who then arranged to get it to A.J. Delario at Gawker.
So Terry, why did you do this? Why did you agree to engage in a sexual encounter with your former best friend's wife? And do you have any regrets about it?
I've got a ton of regrets about it. It's the worst decision I've ever made in my life, but it's such a long story. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. Low point in my life, career, wife, marriage, pretty much non-existent.
Yours.
Yeah, and low point in my life, and it started out as, I knew Bubba had an open marriage with his wife. They talked about it on the radio.
With Heather.
With Heather. And they started, asking me, hey, would you do this, would you do that? And I said, guys, knock it off. Then it got to the point, over a couple of years, it was almost like a joke, almost like poking the bear, and it kind of like became a joke between, guys, stop it, knock it off. And then when I bottomed out, everybody was gone. Wife, kids were nowhere around. My career was tanked. Just everything was going wrong. Bubba was there holding my father when my father took his last breath and died in my arms and Bubba's arms. He was my only friend. He was the only guy with me. I wasn't wrestling. I wasn't around the camaraderie of the guys in the locker room. I was really at a bad spot, and I knew it was wrong. It felt wrong, and I just made a horrible decision that I live.
Were you attracted to her at all?
No, she was a friend. I mean, it was Bubba's wife. I'd seen her 5 or 6, 7 times. They invited me over one time for Thanksgiving. He had a racetrack a couple times over. I really didn't know her very well.
How did you said that you were unaware that you were being recorded? How did you ultimately find out that a sex tape had been made and then was published online?
Well, I didn't know at first. There were a couple still pictures that popped up, and I called David immediately. What's going on? And I called Bubba. I said, what's going on? What's going on with this? And he immediately said, you know, well, Heather must have done it. Heather must have done it, his ex-wife at the time. So it was just a rumor, but the stills came up, so I didn't know there was a sex tape out there in the beginning.
At that point, we were trying to chase it down and figure out who had what, who had done what. And it's almost impossible in the internet world to get your hands on anything. It's literally like chasing smoke.
Did you ask them to take it down right away?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you know, you have now, I think, set the threshold for what we hope for this kind of conduct and the accountability of it. You got $140 million. What are you going to do with it? If you get the $140 million.
Well, I don't have the $140 million.
Why wouldn't you get it?
It's just a piece of paper. They'll appeal it, and they'll do whatever they have to do for years and years and years. Who knows? But I made my point. Even if I lost, I made people aware that this shouldn't happen to normal people, you know, and especially any kids that are on social media. If the kids take pictures of them at high school,
right?
Gawker's the ultimate bully, and I just didn't want it to happen to you or anybody here. It's just we got an email yesterday, 2 days ago, from a gentleman that had this happen to him, from his wife. She was thanking us for what we did. He committed suicide and killed himself. I'm telling you, it's devastating. It changes your world. When I shake his hand, if he's a Hulkamaniac, I'm thinking, what do you think of me now? Did you see the tape? What do your kids think? The kids go for Hulk Hogan videos to watch WrestleMania, and all of a sudden, Hulk Hogan sex tape pops up.
Right.
I mean, come
on,
on,
a lot
guys.
of people think that's just a canned answer, and it's not, because we spent a great deal of time going over this, the motivation, why go forward, the exposure. And really, it was about trying to stop them from doing this to other people.
Well,
because
exposure was there.
Did you want to put them out of business?
Look, if they're going to practice what they call journalism that way, they should be out of business. No question.
The exposure had happened when they put that tape out.
Nick Denton's their fearless leader. There's a bunch of talented kids that work for him. It would be great if they did a 180 and just did great stories and good things.
Don't you think they're under pressure to constantly bring up dirt?
Yes.
Yes,
And that's really what Gawker was about. It was required they have so many posts per day.
Right.